Wherever you are watching from, welcome to another edition of today's program, The Way to Referendum. My name is Donald Obaido.
And I'm Stephen.
And I'm Augusta Nosike. Good to have you all.
Thank you, all viewers, for staying tuned on our program. Before we start the program for today, and the topic before us is Nigeria at the Crossroads, Way Forward to Permanent Freedom. I have a piece of advice for my fellow Nigerians. This Nigerian for all who still believe in Nigeria. It is time for all obedient to become disobedient to Nigeria and her 1999 Caliphate Constitution. Afghanistan is stylishly loading. Join us now or regret forever. Permanent disobedience to the 1999 Constitution is better than temporary obedient power. So, Mr. Steve, what will you have to say concerning the topic of today, Nigeria at Crossroads, the way forward to our permanent freedom?
Thank you, Donald, for this opportunity. And I want to speak directly to our people. To say that Nigeria is at crossroads is an understatement based on what we all know. We have a first country that has actually died in our arms. Unfortunately, career politicians, those who are feeding fat from the blood and the misery of our people, still don't seem to get it. But that notwithstanding, we have to push forward. So Nigeria at crossroads. Which way forward to a permanent political freedom, peace, progress, and a better society? When one discovers one's identity, it becomes easy for one to know what one wants out of life. As this search for one's identity, especially in Nigeria, becomes difficult, many people, including the same people, find themselves at crossroads. I mean, the people that are suffering from the weight of the falling country. Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, has been out there to help indigenous peoples rediscover their identities, which Nigeria stole since 1966, July 15th, 1966. Yes, Nigeria stole people's identities, hijacked their sovereignties, seized their assets and resources in a manner that people get choked trying to ask questions, but settle to suffer and smile at the same time. That's a tragedy. There is so much confusion in the land, especially at this 2023 election season. So much hunger, insecurity, unemployment, untold hardships, criminalities, infrastructural decays, poor medical facilities, political instability, economic upheaval, ethnic religious tensions, killings, kidnappings for ransom, banditry, terrorism. Nobody sleeps with two eyes closed again. These above listed myriads of problems have been traced to the 1999 fraudulent constitution, which was imposed on the indigenous peoples of the country. We cannot continue like this. Nigeria has long since become a complete failed state that has no hope of rising again. The Nigeria Indigenous Nationalities Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS, which has since December 16, 2020, declared a constitutional force majeure, profiled well-researched plans that will help solve these problems by clearly stating that Nigeria needs to be renegotiated. The way forward is to completely turn off the tap from which these myriads of problems flow and do a complete and permanent change. Our people cannot continue to drink from the tap of blood. Instead, they deserve to drink living water that can soothe their choking throat. Therefore, join us today to rediscover your identity, restore your hijacked sovereignty, retrieve your seized assets and resources, and begin to enjoy the benefits of life. Join us and be part of those who supply living water for the indigenous peoples who get choked in the current Nigeria. NINAS is a vehicle waiting to carry all the ethnic nationalities in the South and Middle Belt regions of Nigeria to their destined permanent freedom.
Thank you so much, Mr. Steve. Dr. Gusta, please, if there's anything you want to like add to this whole analysis that Mr. Steve has given, it will make a wide range of this particular topic, because this is a peculiar topic that we believe our people need to sit down. Viewers, if you're listening to this program, just grab something and sit down and educate yourself and be very ready to take the wise decision, because we are here to give you something that will make you see the relevance of where we are driving to. Dr. Gusta, can you please give our viewers something to think of?
Yeah, thank you so very much, Brother Donald, for bringing me on. And I just want to read a brief excerpt from one of the write-ups by Ninas, and that is defining the change we seek, personnel or system. I just want to, clearly state what Ninas actually stand for. I'm not just going to state about the three options that we're giving. The first one says that with the countrywide repudiation and rejection of the toxic 1999 Constitution, the Ninas onslaught against the 1999 Constitution is aimed at terminating the master servant union of death that Nigeria has become for its constituent indigenous nationalities. Yeah, let me just put a little light onto what I've just read. Ninas is not just telling you to do not even attempt election. Ninas is telling you that by you attempting that election, you are giving a lifeline to what has held us captive. That is, in simple terms, what Ninas is trying to say. And the master servant, because what we're experiencing recently, it is obvious even in this election that everybody is talking about. You can see the Fulanese telling us like, hey, you guys are not worth anything.
Yes.
They are telling you you are not worth anything. And a case in point is the case with Kwankwaso that recently came out when P2B was they were trying to marriage, do some get together and see if he could be the vice president. Kwankwaso said, hell no, that he would rather be the president and P2B should come and be the vice president. So the attitude of these people, you can't even fathom it. The attitude of, I'm going to be your master and you're going to forever be my servant, is what it's all about. And what is giving them this power? It is the 1999 Constitution. Good. Let me read the second one. That the Ninas campaign to shut down the 2032 electoral voyage is the Ninas preferred strategy for shooting down the 1999 Constitution. Bam. We've said it over and over again. Pull down that Constitution and you will see the union will collapse. It will collapse a natural death. It will collapse and the indigenous peoples will decide whether they want to be part of the union or whether they want to move away from the union. All you don't even have to go to war for this. Just put down that Constitution and everything will sit in place. You giving a lifeline to it is you going out there for election. Now, the last one, that the Ninas campaign against the PVC, which predated political party primaries for 2023 elections, was an integral part of the campaign against a 2023 election that will be mandated by the 1999 Constitution, to which the winner in 2023 must swear and by which the winner must govern. We cannot overemphasize, we cannot even downplay it. We cannot overemphasize what has been said here. I don't know what else to say. That 1999 Constitution, if the new leader, whatever, wins, it is still going to go ahead and swear to that Constitution. And that is what Ninas is saying. Let us do the first thing first. Get that Constitution out of the way. That's the first thing that we need to do.
Yeah.
The indigenous peoples will think of what next to do. Get the Constitution away, form a transition because it's been done before. It was done in South Africa. So these things have been done. So it's not like it's a new thing. It's been done before. So if you get the Constitution out of the way, then the owners of the land would decide, do we want to remain in the union or do we want to leave the union? If you do not get that Constitution away, just as we were crying that APCs, these PDPs, that That is how we also cry about LP. By the time Peter Obi wins and he decides to want to do things differently, they would always remind him that he swore by that constitution. So that is the bone of contention here. We are not saying you shouldn't, like, if this person is whom you want to vote for, of course, you have a right. But the truth about it is that not getting that constitution down would emanate to exactly the same thing. So why not do the first thing first? Then we'll move from there. Thank you, Brother Bernard.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Augusta. And we shall be playing a little clip from what happened on the Kujao prison, and thereafter we'll be inviting our guest speaker for today, of no other person than Dr. Emeka Onyebuchi. Will be joining us in a short minute after this short clip that we'll be playing as our jingle. Please, viewers, just stay back as we go back on this short commercial, and when we come back from this short commercial, we shall be inviting our guests to the studio.
Nigeria, as defined by the 1999 Constitution, has become a criminal enterprise. They've seized everything. They now want to kill off those who will challenge them tomorrow. That's what's going on now. And it's being done in the name of the federal government of Nigeria. Anybody who wants to get away from this enslavement imposed by this constitution must now join those who say that that constitution must go down.
Thank you so much. There was a little bit mix up for the video clip that I was trying to want to present was not up yet. So we have to quickly go on a short commercial to get things moving. We'll be inviting our guests now on our live broadcast today. No other person than Dr. Emeka Onyebuchi. Good afternoon, sir. You're welcome to today's program of another episode. Topic today: Nigeria at the crossroad and way forward to a permanent freedom. You're welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you very much, Donald. Thank you, the presenters. Thank you, the viewers and listeners from all over the world. My name is Emeka Onyebuchi, as I have been introduced. Today is another day we are bringing enlightenment, knowledge, and what our people need to know. Because as they say, that knowledge makes a man unfit to be slave. I repeat, knowledge makes a man unfit to be slave. The first question here is, why are we slaves in our own fatherland? Because we don't have the right knowledge and we are not doing the right thing. So today, we are going to enlighten our people. So I will advise, please, keep by the side all you have learned, all you have known about Nigeria in terms of what is happening now regarding election and politicking in that country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And I we really want us to expatiate on more on the topic, which is as we can see, we have two basic line of topic. One is the Nigeria at the crossroad, and the other one is the way forward to permanent freedom. I think these two phrase has a different line of explanation. So I don't know which one you first of all want to throw more lights on, so that because our viewers are preparing, they are ready to want to listen to what we're going to dash out today from this very vital topic that we are presenting today. I don't know if you have more information you want to expatiate on Nigeria at the crossroad before we now give them the solution, which is the way forward to our everlasting freedom that will take us to a place we can call home.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yes, as the doctors will kind of act when a patient is presented to them. First of all, they will make effort to diagnose the ailment or the illness. Then the next line of action after diagnosis is to prescribe a medication. And then the third part of that is to treat. You can see these three things are separated, and you cannot bring them together, otherwise you make a mistake, you kill the patient. So NINAS, which we in this platform represent, which is the Nigerian Indigenous Nationality for Self-Determination, an aggregation of the indigenous peoples of Nigeria that have come together to say we need to be free. So NINAS have diagnosed the ailment or the problem with Nigeria. There is a treatment with regards to that, and there is a prescription with regards to that, and then a treatment. So all these three things are lined up. That's why I advise that for us to make a head through in that country, we really need to listen carefully and drop what we have known in the past so that we can, together move forward with regards to the solution to our problem. So Nigeria is at crossroads. We all understand that. Just like Tony Nnadi stated in one of his messages to our people, that we had 55 years since the Aburi, 1967. Aburi was when Nigeria and the then defunct Biafra came together to say, this is the way we want to carry on so that we will make progress. And that has to do with granting autonomies to the peoples, the regions, the region of the East, the region of the West, and the region of the North. But because of the arrogance and the greed associated with Nigeria, which is constantly and currently manifesting itself, that Aburi Accord died. It would have been a saving grace for Nigeria. Nigeria would have moved a lot forward without that. So since then, the death of Aburi Accord, some gangs, especially the Caliphate, they have come together and they are feeding on the carcass of Nigeria. So we don't have anything Federation of Nigeria. Rather, we have a dead Nigeria that is being fed by a gang of criminals under the unitary Nigeria. So they kept telling us that it's one Nigeria, but it's not. So Nigeria is at crossroads, and rightfully so. And we are saying that going for election is not an option now. We are not against any candidate. We are not against any political party. But what we are against is that we should not proceed into an election under the imposed 1999 Constitution. Remember, like I said, some gang of criminals have been using the so-called Constitution to feed large on Nigeria. And our rescue mission is to ensure that we save Nigerians. We must try to save Nigerians. If we try to save Nigeria, and these are two different things, Nigerians will die. So we have option here to save Nigerians and let Nigeria die, or try to save Nigeria and let Nigerians die. And it seems that a lot of people, either willfully or they do not have the necessary knowledge, are going for the option of saving Nigeria and letting Nigeria die. So what do I mean by this? Nigeria is at crossroads. We have witnessed how Nigeria has been degenerating, especially in the last 7 years, whereby some group of people, especially the Fulanese, are using the name One Nigeria to cause mayhem across the land. First of all, with the constitution, which they are pretending to be a federal one, our assets have been confiscated. We don't have right to defend ourselves in form of bearing arms. There is a skewed arrangement in terms of the census that the north, which is almost Sahara, as you approach Sahara Desert all over the world from the coast, people from the coast are more in number as you head towards the other part of the country. It's only in Nigeria that this is different.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that the skewed up constitution is being used against our people. And we are saying that instead of proceeding for the next election, that we must stop and talk. Nigeria is at crossroads. There are about 68 items of what they call exclusive list in that constitution. And that is why a constitution that's supposed to be secular, by secular I mean they do not adopt, it should not adopt any particular religion. But instead of that, Islam as a religion is given prominence there.
Yeah.
And that is why you have Sharia in the 12 contiguous northern states. And it doesn't stop there. They threw our border open so that people, Fulanis from all over West Africa, should come in under the policy of visa on arrival, and everyone can see the implication of that. There is killing, there is death, blood is flowing in Nigeria, and we still insist that going for the next election is not an option for us here.
Thank you so much, sir. And Nigerians, I want you all to pay a proper attention, because there is something you said when you were analyzing this whole topic. You said something about save Nigerians and let Nigeria die. And you said something again. You said because we are at the crossroad now. This when you are at the crossroad, you have to make one decision, because any other decision you take, either good or bad, you're going to get the result of it. So Nigeria, the crossroad we are now is you must choose one now. Are you going to save Nigerians, or you want to save that Nigeria that is a fraudulent one? So the viewers, we have given you this option, but we have come here to also give you, like he said, the treatment. We are not only here to diagnose Nigerian and leave them without giving them prescription and treatment to the problem. We are here to diagnose the problem, and we are also here to give you the prescription and the necessary treatment to the problem that we have been facing for decades up to this very moment. And if right decisions are not being made, are not being taken, we will still continue to rigmarole on that same position that will never change. Mr. Steve, is there something you want to throw more light on? Let's make it a combo of what Dr. Onyebuchi has actually said.
Absolutely, yes. When you think about Nigeria, all that comes to mind is insincerity, dishonesty, and cheating. Like there's nothing truthful about Nigeria. And that country that rejected the Aburi Accord of 1967 is still wobbly till today. That 1967 Aburi Accord gave Nigeria last opportunity to get the train back on track. Unfortunately, the dishonesty of the Ariwa twisted everything and landed Nigeria in the deep hole it is today. We've not had any country, and a country of pretenders pretend that everything is okay. And that's why you see people follow anyone that appears to have something for them. At the end of the day, they get disappointed because they don't think, our people do not think deeply as to what is really going on. That the people that has been hurting them for over 50 years are not done yet. Rather, what they are doing is, from one lie to the other, they continue to deceive our people. They continue to make our people look very weak and traumatized, so much so that any wind that blows, people want to go that direction. And this is not going to lead us to anywhere. And it is to tidy up the whole mess that Nina's actually narrowed this problem to one thing that we can focus on and deal with. That is the Constitution, the only binding document that links us with our killers. That is what will give succor and remembrance to those that have been killed by the imported jihadists into Nigeria. People that were brought into the country to decimate the entire landscape, especially that of the indigenous peoples, to render them destitute, to render them like in the IDP camps. You have Nigeria's own landowners, owners of the country, in the internally displaced camps. While this is going on, the government is repenting the terrorists, the jihadists, the extremists that caused these people to end up in IDP camps. The government is rehabilitating them, putting them through school, and some of them, they are sending them overseas and including them into the military, thereby sabotaging the entire military structure, including police. And what the government is doing is in line with the declaration of Ahmadu Bello in 1960, January 12, October 12, barely 11 days after independence, that Nigeria is their grandfather's inheritance, that the South will be defeated, will be treated as conquered slaves, and the Middle Belt as instrument in their hand to achieve their objectives. Now, countries are not built like this. Nation building does not happen with lies, with deceptions, with that kind of mindset. It shows that the North, the Caliphate, never from the get-go, were never interested in Nigeria. I find it very ridiculous today that those who never wanted to be part of Nigeria are the ones telling us about one Nigeria. That's a fraud. So what Ahmadu Bello was angling for back in 1966 or 1960 is exactly what Muhammadu Buhari is trying to accomplish. And I want to go to the video that you wanted to play earlier that didn't show up. I believe we will still play that video.
Yeah.
The invasion of Kuje prison by ISIS-led, ISIS, Boko Haram, Fulani herdsmen, terrorist groups, among others, that invaded that place. Not once have we had anything said by the Nigerian government till this moment, because they are not neutral. The government of Major General Muhammadu Buhari is not neutral in the infiltration of terrorists into the Nigerian landscape.
Mazi, let me just cut you on that one. Sure. When you say Muhammadu Buhari is not neutral, for crying out loud, Muhammadu Buhari is the instigator. Can we just say it plainly?
Yeah.
Number one instigator, like,
yes,
he's the master planner.
I was zeroing in on that. I was coming there.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the master planner. No, it has nothing to do with neutrality.
Yeah.
But continue.
The government is solidly behind the terrorists. And what the current president, Major General Muhammad Buhari, is doing is to rigmarole before handing over to the terrorists, because Afghanistan is gradually drifting into Nigeria. Nigeria is steadily falling into that stage where this terrorist will push in. Muhammad Buhari is more than ever ready to hand over to them. I want to sound this note of warning to Nigerians. There is danger, and it's increasing in tempo. As the days pass by, this danger is increasing. And so Nigeria is at crossroads. This crossroad, whatever we do with it today, will have a long-lasting impact on us. So to our guest, Dr. Emeka Onyebuchi, I want to ask you, where do we go from here?
Thank you very much. Before I tackle that question, I would like us to step a little bit backwards, because some people are listening to us for the first time. Like I mentioned earlier on during the introduction, that a patient is handled, number one, by diagnosing the problems, then prescribing the medication, and then the form of treatment. Nigeria, just like you rightly stated earlier on, the problem that was found about Nigeria is, number one, that constitution. And I want a lot of people, especially those who haven't listened to this program or who have not followed the activities of NINAS before now, to understand the implication of constitution in every country. Because we keep mentioning constitution, people might think it's a piece of paper. First of all, to constitute means to come together and agree on something. So in other words, before the independence, our fathers and forefathers agreed that for Nigeria to work, having understood the peculiar nature of Nigeria, that Nigeria should be split into regions. And it worked out between 1960 and 66. So after the coup and the war of 1966 to 67 to 70, the carcass, like I mentioned, of Nigeria, remaining Nigeria, is being fed by gang of criminals. So going back to the constitution is so important because, just like an analogy I'm going to give now is, look at constitution as a document. If, say, Mr. A and Mr. B wants to form a company, first of all, Mr. A and Mr. B will agree under what you call memorandum of association. That, in other words, that they will bring forth their assets, that they will bring forth their human resources, their natural resources to form that company. This is an agreement between Mr. A and B. Look at Mr. A and B as the constituents of Nigeria, the indigenous peoples of Nigeria. Then the second part is what you call Article of Association. The Article of Association is Mr. A and Mr. B having agreed to form a company. How do they run the company? I want you to, look at this from the perspective of Nigeria, that number one, there is no time Mr. A and B come together and say they want to form one Nigeria. In other words, the peoples of Nigeria, the indigenous people of Nigeria did not come together to say they want to form Nigeria. So part of the solution we're going to profile, I'm going to mention that. Then the Article of Association, which is the outcome of the agreement between Mr. A and B. In other words, all the indigenous peoples of Nigeria, the agreement between them that they want to form a country called Nigeria, is the document called Constitution. This will detail how many people are going to, the type of government they are going to run, what percentage of Mr. A's assets, or, Ijaw people's assets, Yoruba people's assets, the people of Middle Belt, like in Ijaw's case, the oil assets there, like in Yoruba people's assets, all that is being accrued from, say, the seaport in Lagos, billions of naira. From the Middle Belt perspective, the cement or the limestone they use in making cement, and the agricultural fertile land, how many of this percentage are they going to bring to form this Nigeria? These things we are never discussed, only for this rogue regime to bring forth this constitution, which is an imposition, because never a time all of us came together. And the implication of that imposition is that there is a lot going wrong. You know, for instance, the 68 items on exclusive list, which, you know, seizes electricity generation and transmission, the security. That's why you see a lot of killings. And when you mention handing, you know, the people's equipment to defend themselves, it will be resisted. The roads, certain roads in Nigeria are not being touched by any other person apart from federal government. There are so many of them. Then the issue of federal character. Look at what is going on. Some pupils will take exams, they will score 128, others will score 2, and they're still being admitted at the same level. Even after that, the people that score 128 will become subservient to those that score 2. Look at what is going on with you know, the issue of our so-called political arrangement, whereby 37 individuals, men and women, were handed the key to our common treasury. And that is why federal government, or so-called the people that handle the affairs of Nigeria, can spend money, account any amount they want, and then siphon the rest. That's why this, you know, 36 governors in the states are doing as they please. Whoever they caught the yam, they will give to. The same thing applicable to their protection, which is under that constitution, whereby they have a kind of protection under that particular piece of document, that even after stealing all this, they have immunity. Nobody will prosecute them while they are in the office. Even when they finish, they will go scot-free with a pat on their back. Look at what is going on with the population. I mentioned earlier on, how on earth can they tell us that Kano is the most populated state in Nigeria? Look at the land size, which they are using as population instead of counting human beings. Then look at the local government. The Bayelsa that brings the bulk of the oil that Nigeria uses for its management has how many local governments? And Kano that brings literally nothing has so many local governments. And remember that the wealth of that nation is shared according to the local government. So you can see, if I continue to mention what is wrong with the constitution, there are so many of them. And that is why we have pinpointed constitution as that element, the problem with Nigeria, that if we do not bring down the 1999 constitution, people that are being railroaded to the next election are just trying to help the enemy to continue to kill them, to continue to conquer and occupy their land, to continue the enslavement. So we are telling all of us that that part of finding out the element of Nigeria is constitution. Then the issue of prescription, which I've mentioned earlier on, the NINAS, and what they have prescribed in terms of the solution, is there for everybody to see. And the journey of what NINAS have prescribed did not start today. First of all, NINAS identified what you call identity, because people that have lost their identity, like you observe in Nigeria, already our people's identity is being eroded. We are now practicing Lankadede. That is why a state governor will pick whoever that succeeds him. That's why a state governor will bring people, all his friends and families, award them contracts, and then people go cap in hand begging for arms and begging for something to be given to them. That is why our schools are closed down indefinitely, because certain align identity or way of life is being imposed on us. We, the peoples of the Middle Belt and the South, we work very hard. We like Republicans. we work very hard to achieve what we want to get. We don't go, cap in hand begging for arms or begging for things to be done for us. But look at what the people that run our life, the Fulanis, who are not originally, indigenous people of Nigeria. Look at the kind of lifestyle they brought to us. So first of all, Ninas identified that we have gone wrong in terms of our identity. And you will agree with me that if you come to the West, the peoples of Chinese, peoples of Japanese, people all over the world, they achieve what they have achieved based on the fact that they recognize their identity and they work towards identity. By identity, I mean the culture, the language, and every other thing. Without that, we are not getting anywhere. So Ninas now found out that for us to make a head through, we have to split Nigeria into its original a kind of aggregation, where we have the peoples of the South who are mentioning Oduduwa, calling for Oduduwa state, the people of this Lower Niger, which is the present South and Southeast, the peoples of the Middle Belt. We, the peoples in these regions, identify ourselves as being on the receiving end. And we told Nigerians that for us to make a head through, these peoples must at least come together and decide whether they want to commit to Nigeria. After that, just like I give an example with articles and memorandum of association, after that, we can now move forward to how do we want to live? What kind of government do we want to run? So this is part of the prescription. So as for the way forward, Ninas came together since 1999 when the current civilian dispensation in Nigeria came to be. They identified that constitution as the major issue, and they started pressing buttons since then. That gave rise to Pronaco. They took Nigerian states to court to challenge them against this fraudulent constitution, to say that the constitution, there was a lie in that constitution, that they said that we made the constitution, whereas we did not make the constitution. So federal government kept on adjourning the case up to today. There's never been a delivery of judgment with regards to that, because we know that they cannot come. They knew themselves that we did not make the constitution. So Ninas, as a group of the peoples of Lower Niger, which is South and Southeast, the peoples of the West and the Middle Belt, continued. In 2011, they came together in Lagos and made a Lagos Declaration. This took this group to, say, 2015, where the peoples of the Lower Niger came together under the Solemn Assembly in Port Harcourt. And first of all, designated an area that is called the Lower Niger area. That if at the end of the day, our people carry out what they call referendum and decide that they don't want to belong to this Nigeria, that this is a possible nation of its own. The same thing applicable to the people of the West and then the people of the Middle Belt. So these are the people that came together, and in 2019 came up with what you call constitutional force majeure. But before then, the peoples of the Middle Belt got together in Maiduguri and stated that the constitution is fraudulent and that we shall not carry on with this fraudulent constitution into the next election. The same thing applicable to the people of the West. They came together in 2017 at Adamansi by Ibadan and stated the same thing. Like I said earlier on, the people of the South and Southeast, which is the Lower Niger, came together in Port Harcourt. And after all this declaration, they warned Nigeria that going for next election is not a solution. That instead of going for that election, that we shall apply some break. Just like South Africa did in 1990 when Mandela came out of prison, and the the Boers that were ruling South Africa under the apartheid constitution offered him that constitution. He said, "You rather take me back to the prison instead of operating under that apartheid constitution." I can tell you the 1999 constitution is worse than apartheid constitution. So what did they do in South Africa? They put a break to any election, any other thing, put in an interim government, and this interim government, we are there, and the people gathered together and discussed for 2 years. After 2 years, they came up with a multiracial constitution, which South Africa is being operated today. So we want them that going in for 2019 election, the outcome is already predetermined. Because in a situation whereby these alien people that came in, that threw our border open, and their kingsmen are coming in with AK-47, killing people across the land, taking over their land, that these people, they have the power to announce whoever they want to be the next president. That your election and your PVC do not matter. That they have the president as Buhari, they have Chief of Army Staff, they have the INEC chairman, they have the Inspector General of Police, they have the President of the Senate, they have all the paramilitaries, they are in charge. So how are you going to use your PVC to chase people that have their AK-47 out of office? That wasn't possible. That what is possible is that to use the window of that transition, because by the time the election was going to be held, that some almost the political elected individuals must have completed their 4 years. And then instead of allowing the people that they're going to select, not elect, to come in, it's better we sit down and talk, going through these two a kind of stages of asking Nigerians via a referendum. And referendum is not what INEC is going to organize. Some people will say they will rig it. No, these 3 regions, they can organize their own referendum. By the way, the 12 contiguous states in the north that adopted Sharia in 2000 have already moved on with their Sharia and their self-determination, because if they choose in a secular state to adopt Sharia, it's a self-determination. So we are saying we have that right to do the same. But instead of going for election, let's ask our people, each of this group of people, to ask their people to, vote to continue in one Nigeria or with one Nigeria, as against pursuing self-determination. That whoever that win is, let the person carry the day. That's what we prescribed. But they didn't listen. They didn't listen. They held the election. That one, it wasn't obedient. It was articulation. Everybody was being articulated. They went there, and the rest is history. So we are coming again as a solution. NINAS under the constitutional force majeure, which was against that constitution. By force majeure, you will understand that is a disagreement that we're no longer going to go forward into the next election with under that constitution, because whoever that wins that election will swear to defend and uphold that fraudulent constitution. So NINAS came up on the 12th, in 2020, that number one, that this constitution has been repudiated. In other words, these 3 regions I mentioned, the peoples of the Middle Belt, peoples of the West, the Yorubas, and the peoples of the South, and Southeast, the Lower Niger area, that we repudiated that constitution, that on the basis of that constitution, we are no longer going to approach the next election. So they came up, or NINAS came up with 5 items as a way forward. First of all, they asked the federal government that there should be a formal announcement to acknowledge the constitutional grievances and sovereignty dispute as declared by the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt. That's number one. Let federal government announce that there is a dispute. This is within reach. If federal government want peace. But like he's always said, a good leader will admit bad decision, correct them, and move forward. In the process, they will teach what they learn so that others won't make the same mistake. It's not applicable by the rogue regime in Nigeria running our affairs. So number two, demand from NINAS is a formal commitment by federal government of Nigeria to a wholesome decommissioning and jettisoning of 1999 Constitution as the basis of the Federation of Nigeria, as was done by the government of Apartheid Constitution in South Africa, to commence the process by which the Apartheid Constitution of the then South Africa was eased out. So we're not asking for too much. This is not about shedding blood or going to war. It's about a peaceful transition into a sustainable system that will guarantee our children and children of a very good future. But they didn't listen. They carried on. The third agenda or the third point that was made by NINAS under that constitutional force majeure was a formal announcement by the federal government of Nigeria suspending further general elections under the disputed 1999 Constitution, since winners of such elections will swear to and govern by the Constitution. That's the third point. The fourth one, demand by NINAS under that constitutional force majeure, was a formal invitation to the peoples of the South and the Middle Belt of Nigeria to work out and in place a transitional authority which shall specify the modalities for transitioning process, including the composition and mandate of the transitional authority, as well as the time frame for the transitioning and other ancillary matters. What this means is that federal government was expected to call in these people that own the land, that never discussed for one day, but instead they relied on the present constitution that we the people, whereas we knew how Abdul Salam conjured this rubbish that they are using against us in 1999 and threw it and shoved it down our throat. So that they should call these peoples to come together and discuss, number one, a transition government, because we will not allow Buhari government to organize any other thing. To discuss modalities, time frame, and how this will be carried out. Already, NINAS have already presented under the open memo to President Buhari when he made mention of people pursuing restructuring of Nigeria as not knowing what they are doing. So there was an open memo where these things were detailed, outlined on how this was going to be carried out. Then the fifth demand from NINAS under that constitutional force majeure was a formal initiation of a bond transition process to midwife the emergence of fresh constitutional protocols by a two-stage process in which the constituent regional bloc will at first stage distill and ratify their various constitutions by referendums and plebiscites, and in the second stage, negotiate the terms of federating afresh as much as may be dictated by the outcome of referendum or plebiscite. Just like I mentioned before, this is not a rocket science. It's like people forming a company. First port of call is the memorandum of understanding. These people that want to form a company, what element of this thing have they agreed to form a company? Yes. Then the second is let these people decide, do they actually want to be in Nigeria? If they want to be in Nigeria, just like two people agree to form a company, the next stage is to negotiate the terms of that. What kind of government, I mentioned this earlier on, are we going to run? So these are the 5 points as demanded by NINAS prior to that election. But what did they do? They carried on, as usual, and the outcome is the killing that is going on now, the schools that were closed, the hospitals that were not equipped, so many other things happening. And just like our brother mentioned, a lot of things are happening that our people must understand that there is no kind of ticket. Some people, when they hear about P2B, some people think you're against P2B's emergence as this thing and all the issues going on in the social media. No. What we're saying is that let's do the first thing first, because anybody, even if it's P2B or whoever, that's going to emerge at the end of the day is going to govern with that constitution. And no matter what happened, nobody can govern Nigeria rightfully with that constitution because it's fraudulent. It wasn't made by the people. The issue of agitation of Biafra, the issue of agitation for Middle Belt, the issue of agitation for Dudua will carry on. The resource control issue will continue. The strike action by the people that are in charge of the universities in Nigeria will carry on. The bad roads will continue. And more especially the lives of Nigeria. The lives of Nigeria is at stake. You and I know that the issue of election is the third option for the caliphate. The option that has to do with throwing the election to every one of us as we struggle like you throw bones at a dog outside. As the dog struggles, you are inside doing what you need to do. So our people are there knowing fully well that their PVC will not matter at the end of the day, that even as we are talking, the manipulation has already started. If you need to see the so-called law governing the PVC, you find out that our people have they don't have any way they can come through that, because the idea of PVC has to be controlled by INEC. Who runs the INEC? There is this story about in the north, and when I talk about north, I'm talking about the far north. I claim that a near Sahara Desert area is more populated than people that live in the coast. That people go there with their PVC machine, they are offered 2, 3, 4, 5 PVCs. Whereas in the south, where people are being obedient, some of them are given fake PVCs. Some of them are being told that there's no PVCs. So the manipulation is already there.
Yes.
So assuming we manage to come, above that at the end of the day, how will the so-called somebody that is elected under the fraudulent constitution manage? You still have the imbalanced National Assembly there. The local government is there. So how will the person govern? You still have the military that is in charge, that the Fulanis are in charge, who are looking the other way while the so-called Boko Haram and the bandits are killing and maiming and running rampage all over the country. So how will the person govern? So we implore our people to do the right thing. Let's use this energy that we are using in obedience, they are using in PVC, to call and ask for a transition which will midwife a plebiscite. That plebiscite will decide whether we want to be in Nigeria. By plebiscite, I mean some people call it plebiscite, some call it a referendum, And just for your information, NINAS has done a great job internationally in their international imperative. It's been a lot. In 2019, NINAS made an appearance at Capitol Hill, that is United States Congress.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
UN and every other
Yeah.
people places.
Yes,
So-
sir. I was about thinking of how we're going to come in that chapter, because I want us to like take this part bit by bit so that our viewers could be able to like come along with all the information we are trying to give at a point, because the transition you are moving towards now is like the way forward to our permanent freedom. So before we go into that chapter of the episode of today, I want us to understand that like Nigeria is under siege. And where I said this is, I want to play a short clip of a video of what happened in Kuje prison. And when we come back, we'll be giving opportunity to Mr. Steve, because you've raised a lot of points, sir, and I want us to diagnose those points very well so that our people will understand the basis of all these points that we've made out. Let's quickly look at this siege, this tragedy that happened in Kuje prison, because like when you said it, you said if any government come into power, can they stop the killing and the whole insecurity issue that has been perpetrated right from 1967 that is still operating up till now? Let's play this video so that when we come back, we talk more about this whole topic of today.
Allahu Akbar! دولة الإسلام باقية. الله أكبر. دولة الإسلام باقية. دولة الإسلام باقية. دولة الإسلام باقية. باقية بإذن الله باقية. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. باقية.
Dr. Augusta, what do you have to say about this little clip we just saw now? Because with the whole narrative and the way these guys are resilient, because like I had a news concerning FFK. He was saying something that like even the military, they were alerted that these guys are coming, because we are sounding this very loud and clear to Nigerians to understand that like 3 hours, this is more than 3 hours operation. Please expatiate on this issue, because education, these people, we won't say Nigerians lack education, but we will have to believe that they don't listen to the right information they should be listening to.
Thank you very much for bringing me on. The funny thing is that, as you rightly said, it took 3 hours, if not more, for them to invade Kuje prison. And from the story that I have heard, I've not been to that area before, but from the story that I heard, I'm told that for you to even move from the end of one of the bus stops to where the prison is at, there are a lot of what is it called, army stations that you have to clear before you can get that far. And I'm also told that there's a police station so close to that area, and you're wondering, how does these people skip those what is it called, those blockages? How did they skip it to get into that prison? If it is not well coordinated, it is well coordinated. This is something that they planned well ahead to do. It is something that they planned very, very well. They planned it. So, and ISWAP has declared that they were the one that even did the thing. And we've been saying this long time ago. If you watch one of 2090's video, that went to the Congress, that he talked about it, that these people are coming so close in order to take over the land, and that the ISIS that you all thought that you have killed, they have relocated to Nigeria. This is the deal. They've relocated to Nigeria, mixed up with Boko Haram, formed ISWAP, and they are doing the killings. And to think that the president does not have an idea of what is going on, we are messing it up. We are missing it all up, because the president knew that they were coming. The army knew that they were coming, and they still allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
Then they allowed it to happen. Now, there was an incident that happened in Shiroro. An entire battalion of army was killed in Shiroro.
Yeah.
Shiroro is in Niger State. An entire battalion of army was killed. And what did our president do? I think the very next day, he went to Senegal. He said he was going from some African developmental BS. This guy traveled to Senegal. So you think he's not part of the deal? He knew they were coming. He knew his high time Fulani took over every angle, every area.
Yes.
They have declared this.
I think we lost Augusta there.
Yeah, please, Brother Steve, I want you to say something.
Because I will pick it up from there.
Yeah.
Earlier on, I was saying that Buhari is gradually handing over to the Islamic State. And that's exactly what we see playing out at the Kuje prison in Abuja. I happened to have visited that prison sometime in 2005, 2006. I went there to do alternative energy evaluation of the facility. It's a fortified area. And just like everything else that has happened in Nigeria, there is a planned execution of takeover of the country. And the next thing that will happen now is the surrender of Asharok to the Islamic State. That will complete the process of takeover. Now, military were withdrawn from that facility a week or two before this invasion took place. The Nigerian military withdrew their soldiers. So it was orchestrated, it was planned. And this ties to what Ninas has been warning us over the years, that they are coming, that this is what they are aiming for. They are aiming for the heart and soul of Nigeria. They want to take over the entire country from top to bottom. And you know what the president does? He's just gallivanting. He doesn't, no problem. Everything is cool. In fact, on the same day they went to storm that prison, they attacked his advance team to Katsina State, his home state. So basically, essentially, the entire country is under siege. And what they are aiming at is to overpower the indigenous nationalities and to declare Nigeria the Islamic State latest country under their belt. The entire world is pretending like they don't know what is going on. But like I've been saying, or like we've been pointing out, when they are done with Nigerians, they will use Nigerian soil as a launching pad to Europe, to North America, to every other nation out there. The threat that Nigerians are facing today, which United States Secretary of State Blinken ignored and removed Nigeria from country of particular concern, we end up biting the United States. God knows how soon it will be from now. But again, we have an opportunity. The opportunity we in the South and Middle Belt have is to insist on an urgent plebiscite through what our brother Emeka Onyebuchi pointed out already, which is a transitional government that will lead to plebiscite, referendum vote, so that we can be able to figure out from our people's own vote where we want to be. Do we want to belong to Islamic State? Do we want to belong to strangers taking over our land and then we become their hewers of wood and drawers of water? Or do we want to protect our lives, our people, their land through sovereign power that will be bestowed on us through referendum? This is a very peaceful, organized way of sorting this national problem that Nigeria is going through right now. And if we ignore this, that battalion that was wiped out in Shiroro, Niger State, you think it wasn't an organized thing? And when you look deep into it, you will find out that it is Southern and Middle Belt soldiers that are wiped out.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is what has been going on in the country. The country is under a terrorist chokehold. The people in government are the enablers. The Minister of Communication is a sympathizer of terrorist groups. The president was appointed by Boko Haram as their lead spokesperson when former President Goodluck Jonathan's government initiated talks with the terrorists. So let's be very very, very, very clear here. There is a design, there is a plan to subdue Nigerians, to take over the landscape, to make it an Islamic state. There are different elements working here. Those that are luring our people toward election are actually encouraging what is going on now to continue going on. Those that are pushing our people to go do this, go do that, are actually playing into the playbook of the caliphate elements, those that claim that their father owned Nigeria, those that violated the 1960, the pre-independence constitution of the regions. And so the best way for us here to put an end to the type of thing we saw on video where Islamic jihadists were storming a prison that's supposed to have different stages of entrance into it. This prison is where Wazirike, Asari Dakobo, Okuku, Uche Okuku, and the rest of them were held in that prison. So it's not like an unfortified spot. Mm-hmm. It's a highly secure place, but the entire security system was put down for the mission to succeed. Exactly. And they succeeded because they freed 600 terrorist members that were detained in that prison. Mm-hmm. It was even rumored that Abba Kyari was equally released. Mm-hmm. This is Nigeria. So this country is heading down by the activities of the minders of the fraudulent 1999 Constitution. And the only saving grace for all the indigenous nationalities is the lifeline that Ninas have thrown. We take it, we survive. We ignore it, we suffer. Thank you very much.
Dr. Augusta, please, before you, there was a technical issue before you went off. Please, can you continue because you are striving on some points before the network interrupt. Please, can you continue with that particular part you were deliberating on?
Yes. Thank you so much. So as I was saying earlier, that an entire battalion was wiped out and the president jetted out to Senegal to go and do some African developmental something that does not even warrant he could send a delegate if he was truly a president, but he jetted out by himself to just go and witness something while his house is burning. This is to tell you that he is complicit in what happened. Is part and parcel of what happened. Is the one that allowed it to happen. And as Brother Amazi, Steve rightly said, that if you go back to check on those that died, those military guys that died, 99% will be Southerners and Middle Belters. Definitely. There will be Southerners and Middle Belters, those that died, those that got killed. Yeah. And you can imagine, how could a battalion, and we're not fighting war, right? They wanted to just go and secure the place, only for them to be killed. It means that they are probably not well prepared. Secondly, probably they don't have the sophisticated weapons that the jihadists have. I'm sure they don't. They don't have it. And that is why we go back to that 1999 Constitution. Because according to that Constitution, you cannot even own a gun if you so wished. People can come and kill you, take away your land, take away your property. You cannot fight because that Constitution has made it so. So the people that got killed, if you go back, would be those from the South. Definitely, no question about it. It's part of the orchestration. It's part of the jihadist movement. It's part of the plan. The plan they had in the 60s. They have not stopped. They have it. They actually have a blueprint for this plan. Yeah. And they are following it to the teeth. They have a blueprint for the plan. If you think that they are just doing it anyhow, they are not. They are following a pattern. And I remember our guest today was talking about the cement factory that they took and also many other things that they have done to take away all the resources from the southern area. Guess who has monopoly over all of them? Dangote.
Yeah.
There's a reason for him to have monopoly over all this. There's a reason. Because that money has to continue to go to the coffers of this strategy. It has to continue to go to coffers of the test, which is entire Islamization of Nigeria, a country that is supposed to be secular. And Mazi was saying the other time that they are trying to Islamize Nigeria. Look, they have in 2001, I believe, Ibrahim Babangida, no, was it 2000? I can't remember, paid money to IOC.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember when. So, as at the time he was president, he had already paid money to IOC, several millions of dollars, to be a member. So Nigeria has already become a member of the Islamic agenda. The truth about it is that we will really not care if you want to be a Muslim or a Christian. It doesn't matter. But what matters is that they are trying to choke us all in this process. And our people have not woken to the idea that very, very, very soon, those that are going to church often may not even have the chance to go to church. And guess what? It's beginning to happen because they are now killing priests. They are abducting priests, they are abducting prelates, pastors, and bishops.
And bombing churches too.
And bombing churches. And going into churches and killing people that came to pray.
Yeah.
And that is my weakness, or how would I put it? My annoyance with the Christian community. How dare you sit down there and people will continue to molest you and you tell us, let us pray? You can't come out and fight? During the South African time, we had a Reverend Tutu. He was in front. He was not behind. He worked tirelessly with Mandela. He was a pastor. He was a bishop. And what we have in the Christian community is, let us pray. Don't worry. What kind of prayer is that? That annoys me. I'm sorry. You have been killed daily. And you cannot come out there and say, you know what? It is high time we demanded for referendum. You can. You actually can. Or you talk to your leaders or your representative. It's high time we demand for something different. And what we are saying is that pulling that constitution makes a whole lot of sense. Because if we do not do that, it's just going to be exactly the same thing. It's going to be exactly the same thing. And we're already seeing it. A lot of our obedient and useful people, I'm trying to address it right now. Trust me, if we had our nation divided and all that, I would personally campaign for Obi. Yes. But I cannot campaign for him when he's going to eventually go and swear onto that constitution. Because it's going to be one of the same thing. And we're telling you people, that energy that you have right now, can we push for referendum with it? Can we use that energy and say, you know what? Let us get this thing down, this thing that has held us all captive. Can we get it down so that we can get ruled the way we want to be ruled? So we need our people to wake up. For the election, they're bringing in jihadists from all parts. They're bringing from Chad, from Niger. I am told, as we've seen so many on Facebook, that they have more PVC machines in Niger Republic than they have in the entire South. Yeah, and you think you're not going to manipulate the election?
Yeah, I was watching one program where they were interviewing one guy from Niger. He said he's 21 years old and he has been voting since when he was 8 years old.
Can you imagine?
What a country of a joke.
In Nigeria's election.
Yeah.
Niger is voting in Nigeria election.
Yes.
I mean, does it make sense? Okay, yes, it makes sense to them because that is what they needed to achieve at all costs. But for us, I don't want that. Does it even make sense? He has been voting since he was 8 years old. Meanwhile, you don't vote until you're 18, right?
Yeah.
That means disenfranchising the real voters, which are the Southerners that would actually want to claim that they are actually 18 to go out there and vote. I have had an experience when I was doing youth service in the North. I did my youth service in Niger State. And you won't believe it. I think that was over 20 years ago. That was when we were doing this, what is it called? We're doing was it census? One of those things. I came out the line of, I kept registering as I was. I said, but I've seen this girl before. Why do you want me to register her again? The guy that was helping us, translate the language, told me that, madam, I beg you, make you just register and make you they go. I said, but I don't register them before now. You mean I have to register? He said, make you just register them. These people know the joke. That was over 20 years ago. He said, register them.
That was how they claimed the larger
population.
That was how they
claimed the numbers.
Yeah.
A family of 10. I want me to double it to 20. So how do you want? And you are like on my neck if I don't double it.
That's why they refused another census in the country for that privilege they had, because Nigeria has never seen such. If you take a look at our political system now, we've woken up a little. Nigerians have woken up a little, but they are still slumbering and they're walking. And yes,
they're dreaming. They're still slumbering. I don't know if you've been to the north. I've been to all that area, Jos, Kaduna, Kano, Niger State, Abuja. I've walked around that area before. Where I stayed particularly, before you see the next house, you would have run like several kilometers.
True.
So how in the world are those people the numbers that we're talking about?
They are practicing what the British bequeathed to them.
It was the British that came with that distortion of census number.
Yes.
And they have been using it a long time ago.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
They have been using that, and they have not, and that is why in all of this campaign, you can imagine that Atiku is not even effaced one bit.
No, he's not.
He is drinking his champagne. He's traveling to Dubai. He lives in Dubai. He's drinking his champagne, looking at the time. Because he knows that this election is his for asking. He knows that. He's not even out there campaigning. He's not even out there talking to anybody. He knows that the election, they would rig it in his favor. He knows that. And they know that he is going to go ahead and continue to implement what is in that constitution.
Yeah.
Remember, he said he's not going to flinch when it comes to the Ruga thing. He said it. He said he's not going to flinch. That all this anti-grazing law will be quashed. And you are wondering, how in the world did we get to mix with this kind of people?
It's unfortunate.
How in the world did we get to mix with this kind of people? I have been around. The one that even one time broke my heart was when somebody that I knew did not score up to 50 is a medical student in Ahmadu Bello University.
There you go.
Then those of us that had 250 couldn't even get into Nsukka. And I'm blaming our people for that, because you are not allowing me that made 250 to go to Nsukka. But somebody that made 50 is going to medical school in Abu Zaria. How does that even make sense?
Please, Dr. Augusta will be taking our first caller today.
Yes, please do.
Hello? 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 I think there's a network issue. Please, if you are the caller and you're listening to us, please kindly call back. The line is open for callers to call in. We have a guest in the studio today that will be receiving every call and also be answering some questions. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon.
Oh, hello, good afternoon. It's evening here. It's Ndidi. I'm calling from Abuja.
Thank you so much for calling in today.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to all your guests, to Augusta, to Stephen, and to Emeka. You guys are doing a good job. I just wanted to add that I'm in Nigeria now, and one of the things that the people do that makes sure that they are in trouble is they listen to those they should not be listening to. They're listening to the pastors, they're listening to the priests, they're listening to the influencers. And those are the three groups that are putting them in this mess. And, and if they were to use their heads instead, they would understand that historically, the church leaders have been corrupt. Historically, it's only the good Christians, you don't hear about them. Look at all the popes, yeah? And even at the time of Jesus, the Pharisees were the leaders of the day, and look what they were devils. Then you've got the influencers, and I know one or two of the influencers, they're not going to push the Ninas message unless you pay them. And the ones in Dubai and one is in America, and they're pushing young people, and they've got loads of followers on Twitter. They're pushing them to elections because somebody must be paying them. And they feel that they're safe because one's in America and one's in Dubai. So young people, especially young people in Nigeria who only have a Nigerian passport, they don't have the money to fly out somewhere else. They need to get serious and start listening to reality. Because, this Peter B, even if he's an angel, but which he's not, but even if he was, he's not going to save anyone because, as we all know, he'll be working under the Constitution. And Labour Party also doesn't even have enough people in the Senate. They don't have enough people in the National Assembly. It doesn't even make sense. It really doesn't even make sense at any level. Even if we had a proper constitution, there's no way Peter Obi in Labour Party is going to get the power that he wants. We had Donald Trump. The reason Donald Trump got himself into a mess is because the Democrats had more people than Republicans in some of the houses. Yeah. So, so what is Labour Party going to achieve when they don't even have anybody? Even if so so Nigerians who have no passport except a Nigerian one need to start thinking for themselves, because they are the ones who will end up in IDP camps or in refugee camps or get killed. The influencers, the pastors and priests will not. We saw the Methodist, the head of the Methodist Church, who was kidnapped. He used the money that the congregation gives to the Christian church to pay a ransom for himself. He didn't want to die. But if it's the common man, the common priests who have no money, who don't have access, they're not top there, they're the ones who get killed because nobody's going to pay a ransom for them. But the money the congregation gives to spread the gospel and to pay for the poor is what the heads of the church are using to pay ransom, giving money to the kidnappers, the Fulani militia, to use that money to buy more weapons to kill the common man. Can you see what's going on in Nigeria? So the common man needs to realize that their leaders are not going to, church leaders are not going to save them. They're going to pay a ransom to save themselves, and it's the poor who end up being in trouble. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for this wonderful information and for your contribution. God bless you, Ma. You've been a source of this program, and we appreciate you calling in every now and then when we're having this program. And we say keep it up with us. We have another caller. We have another caller today. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm good. Good afternoon. Who am I speaking with?
My name is Gabriel. I'm trying to join the program that is ongoing.
Thank you so much, Gabriel. Please, the viewers are listening to you. Can you please come on, say something, contribute to the topic of today, which is Nigeria at a crossroad and the way forward to our permanent freedom?
Yeah, I just have to, because I'm just joining, so I need to hear the speaker, whether the speaker has made any kind of introduction and all those kind of things. So before I can know what to say. Okay,
I will be giving our speaker another opportunity to come in and throw in more light, because he has been on live educating our viewers. And please, I want you to stay tuned, and please you be able to call back for you to be able to understand the basis of what our speakers have actually deliberated on. And thank you for calling in. I will be expecting you to call back. What do you say your name is again?
Gabriel.
Okay, thank you for calling in, Gabriel. We appreciate your calling in, Gabriel, and we'll be hoping to hear from you after our speaker must have said one or two things. Thank you so much.
Okay. Am I going to listen to him on this channel, or I'm going to go to Facebook?
Live.
We are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. Wherever you comfortable for you to listen to our viewer, our speaker, please, you are free to tune in any of our social media platform.
Okay, so I can't hear him on this number
right now. He's coming up.
Right, okay, you're talking about right now.
Right now.
Yeah, we can keep it engaged on this line, because other callers that have been following us, we want to call in also and give their own contribution. So if you can tune in to any of our social media platform to definitely hear what our speaker, let me give you the opportunity to listen to our guest speaker again. Please, sir, we have a caller that really want to get more information. I don't know if there are one or two lights you want to throw for him to actually get along with what the topic of discussion today is, sir.
Yeah, thank you for calling in, Gabriel. Just like we've deliberated in the before now, we kind of looked at our problem just like a doctor treating a patient, that Nigeria is very ill, critically ill. First of all, the doctor tries to find out what's wrong with the patient. That's diagnosing the problem, and then prescribing a medication, which will be followed by treatment. Because what people do not understand is that treatment is different from prescription. If you drink your medication anyhow, it will cause problem. So having said that, NINAS as a group has identified the Constitution of Nigeria as that problem. And the prescription is that we should have, we've declared a constitutional force majeure, which within it, we outlined the actions that will be taken as a way of treating this problem for Nigeria to come out of its unconsciousness. So let me state here that no new Nigeria will emerge under the so-called toxic 1999 Constitution. Even if you bring an angel as president, with the Fulani invasion rapidly advancing its conquest objectives in the several months between July 2022 and February 2023, date of election, the conquest drive will overtake election plan. Our people should start thinking. Again, may I state that, all this obedient thing that is happening, that what many are celebrating as the super ticket of Peter Obi and Baba Ahmed is caliphate. By caliphate, we mean people that
deal with you, bro. They know me on this street, bro. I'm gonna deal with you, bro.
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, we're listening.
Okay. So what many are celebrating as the super ticket of Peter Obi and Baba Ahmed is a caliphate containment strategy for the total unanticipated PVC revolution. Everybody is shouting about being obedient and stuff. So they now brought Peter Obi and Baba Ahmed to bring them together. I want to ask our people, let's look back a little bit. Obasanjo was once the head of state in the 70s. And Yar'Adua, General Yar'Adua was his deputy. Was Obasanjo actually running the country? The answer is no. It was a Fulani man running the country. Obasanjo was the president in 2000 That's 1999 to 2007. Yeah, he had some kind of a power, but you know how powerful Atiku was then. That made them disagree all the time. And was Obasanjo actually operating based on full presidential power? What did he do for his people to start with? Jonathan was there between 2010 and 15. Was Jonathan actually running the country? What did he do for his people? Peter Obi's ticket with Baba Ahmed, I must burst our people's bubbles, because even if by mistake Peter Obi was elected in there, Peter will not run the affairs of Nigeria. Ahmed will be running the affairs based on the current constitution, because these are the people that run Nigeria. Just like we have stated here, they own the National Assembly, they control all the arms, they control all the security apparatus in the country. They control even the money. Who's the richest person there? So our people should wake up. So going back to what we are discussing, subject of discussion, because a lot of people might be thinking, oh, these things we are talking about is far-fetched. How can Islamists take over Nigeria? I can tell you it's happening under our Korokoro eyes. It happened recently in Afghanistan. People said it can never happen, even with all the sophisticated arms and ammunition that was supplied to them by Americans. What happened? Taking over was a walkover. I want to take us back to what happened in recent time. Babangida, they signed to OIC. They signed to OIC, and they have this OIC declaration in 1985, I think. Since then, the plans has been ongoing gradually. Turkey used to be predominantly Christians, but today Turkey is called almost 99% Islam. So in recent time, let's look at what happened. The killing of Azizi and the governor of Kaduna State was masterminded by this Islamist, because then the governor was a Christian. Now Kaduna is talking about Muslim ticket. It has happened. People will say it will not happen. El-Rufai, his deputy, is a Muslim. Now the people that they nominated to run for their party is Muslim. There is issue with inversion of NDA. The place that's supposed to be the most sophisticated and well-protected place in Nigeria. These bandits invaded it. Nobody has been, even if they've arrested somebody, nobody has been tried or anything done to them, seriously. The killing of Deborah. The killing of Gideon Akaloka in Kano. The change of school curriculum. The use of helicopter to attack some, communities in southern Kaduna. So these things are happening in our eyes. So who said that Islamists cannot take over Nigeria? Look at all they have been doing. Look at the attack in Niger State, like we have already mentioned here. So these people are marching on. So what I will advise our listeners, I will advise Nigerians, is that please, if we want to save the lives of Nigerians, I don't mean Nigeria, please do not proceed to this election, because they are going to crown whoever they want to crown at the end of the day. If we want to save the life of Nigerians, we should halt the journey to this election. Halting to the journey to this election. Some people think is a rocket science. No, it is not. All we need to do is to use this energy. Some people think let's use this energy we are using for this PVC to demand for a transition as outlined by Ninas. How do we do this? All these regions in the country could say from today going forward, We no longer want political parties and political aspirants in our zone. We don't need Fulani people to do this. It could happen in Yoruba land, it could happen in the Lower Niger area, it could happen in the Middle Belt. We no longer want INEC in our region because our vote do not matter in the first place. So if we can implement this, no more political party, our brothers and sisters trying to go for elective position using our name, we no longer want them to continue. We no longer want the umpire, that is INEC, in our state. I can tell you we must have precipitated that logjam that will start prompting the so-called politicians to ask what next. Already we are reaching at that point. So please don't give up. The idea that some people are now calling for people to defend themselves, that people are invading places, killing, kidnapping, and doing all sorts of things, that logjam is approaching. All we need to do is to push this thing the more to stop this journey. We are not talking about boycotting the election. Boycotting the election, it will be too late because by then they must have, kind of selected whoever they want. And once the election result is announced, Britain that have been, popping them up, the West, who have been looking the other way while Christians have been killed, we congratulate them. And that is the end of it. We will be at their mercy for the next 4-8 years. Save Nigerians. Do not continue this journey to the election. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Discussing on the fraudulent union and asking for a referendum, I strongly recommend Nigerians, let's go through a referendum peacefully in order to avoid the history of 1967, because we are saying it and we are saying it loud and clear. The killings that we that are trying to save our life, we are thinking we are trying to save our life. We don't know that we are actually planning to be killed in the near future. So we are calling on every Nigerian to please understand the basis of this program. We are not here to deceive you. We are here to save Nigerians, not the so-called fraudulent union called Nigeria. We'll be playing a clip from Tony Nandi where he described this whole incident that has been occurring, because he has actually said it in the time past, and now they are surfacing because the people fail to listen. Because when you fail to listen, like a word that we normally say, when you fail to use your head, be ready to lose the head. Because when you don't use it, you lose it. That is the basis of it. So we'll be playing this clip for our viewers to see that the structure Ninas has left for us to follow, it has been there. It's so unfortunate that most of us now are not seeing the light of it, and we are embracing it with full force and with every part of our being. Please, viewers, sit down and listen to this clip and understand that there is a structure that we need to follow to attain this freedom permanently.
And the truth. And let me make some revelations, because some of us also have our own intelligence networks.
Okay.
Have met with some of the bandits. We have met with some of their high commanders. 1 or 2 who have repented. They have sat down with us, not once, not twice. They told us that one of the northern governors is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. Boko Haram and the bandits are one and the same thing. They have a sophisticated network. During this lockdown, their planes were moving up and down as though there was no lockdown. Moving ammunitions, moving logistics, moving money, and distributing them in different parts of the country. They're already in the south, in the rainforest of the south. They're everywhere. They told us that when they finish these rural killings, they will move to phase 2. The phase 2 is they will go into the urban cities, going from house to house, killing prominent people. I can tell you, this is the game plan. By 2022, they want to start a civil war in Nigeria. Don't joke with what I'm saying. I have a PhD from Oxford University. I'm a central banker. We don't talk nonsense. So don't joke with what I'm telling you. I have this from the highest possible authority, higher authority of some of the commanders of the killers in Boko Haram.
You said northern governors, past or present, Dr. Badaya?
No, current. No, they said one of them is the commander of Boko Haram in Nigeria. One of them.
Is another Afghanistan loading for Nigeria? That is a question of Nina's looking at all of what had been going on in terms of terrorists that are operating unchallenged freely across vast territories, but moving steadily towards Abuja. If we looked at the patterns from Afghanistan between the Taliban that was constantly repenting and being infused into the Afghan army, commanded by people who were sympathetic to the Taliban. Over time, sufficient numbers of them were infused into the Afghan army, and they turned up just on the day of their choice, and the government fled, and they made an announcement that they've taken over the country. Where we are in Nigeria is that we're seeing a similar pattern, that people who are openly sympathetic to the Boko Haram and the Fulani herdsmen, all of those who have been labeled one thing or the other, including bandits, that the media of Nigeria became complicit in describing terror as banditry. Gumi became their spokesman. Mietiala became their champion, boasting and taking credit for advancing their cause. Fulani herdsmen. And the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of Nigeria, who had been for many years the life grand patron of Mietiala, and who in the past had openly declared that an attack on Boko Haram was an attack on the north. We are putting all of this, piecing the jigsaw together to make the picture of what is coming. You take the map of Nigeria, you begin to see who is where these things are coming from, where they've gotten to, and where it could be heading to. We are at least entitled to interpret, as we can see, that a government that is sympathetic to those who are carrying out the invasion. Now, why do we say sympathetic? We look back at the alarm raised by General T.Y. Danjuma, I think it was in March 2018, when he alleged that the federal government of Nigeria and its armed forces were in open collusion in facilitation of the invasion that we were witnessing, sweeping through vast swaths of land in a southward movement. And so we've come to raise this alarm that it appears we are heading in that direction, that Boko Haram elements are being alleged to have repented, being rehabilitated with public funds, some even sent overseas, but was still being infused into the military of Nigeria. The database of Nigeria is still in the hands of a known sympathizer of that terror network called Isa Pantami, minister in charge of the branch of government that has to document us as citizens of Nigeria. And the other day we saw an attempt in the amendment they were making to, more or less liberalize the registration to be indigent. They are already citizens, as our borders were thrown open for these invaders, Fulani, to flood in their numbers. And we know from what we see that they are being documented as Nigerians, because we were told by the governor, we saw it on TV, I think it was Channel TV, by the governor in Bauchi, that Fulani from everywhere they come belong to Nigeria. And so when you see what has happened already, the numbers that have come in, the documentations to be Nigerian citizen, the terror that is growing in leaps and bounds with no arrests. They've grown so strong as to be able to take down aircraft. We saw it happen. They've grown so strong as to be able to get into an airport in the numbers. We saw the one in Sokoto, we then saw the one in Kaduna just the other day. They've grown so strong that they could waylay the train, and that's not the first or second time attacks have been carried out on train. Yet nobody, no single person has been arrested. I would be a fool to believe anything but what Danjuma told us, that there is collusion. That fact that nobody has been arrested among those who are doing this thing almost routinely is, for me, is for us adminers, proof of complicity at the highest possible levels with people in government. And if we go by previous utterances and current actions, you will then see the picture that is emerging. That it appears that that infusion of these elements into the military of Nigeria is building up to where we could wake up one of these days and they will storm Abuja, and somebody will pretend they've been overwhelmed, and then it will be just a matter of announcement. They have already sent all their people across the length and breadth of Nigeria. If they make such an announcement and they pull guns everywhere to say we are now in charge, what will those who are the recipients do? The indigenous nationalities, what are they going to do? The time to act is now. The time to stop the pretense that there is a union of Nigeria that is settled according to that constitution that tie everybody else leg and hand, but put all the guns and all the resources in the hands of these invaders and their sympathizers who are now in control of government 100%, and all the agencies of government that carry arms, whether it's the army or the air force or the DSS or the immigration or the customs, all the agencies, civil defense, even prisons, all the agencies of government, NIA that carry arms, go and check, put them on this map, check the heads. Check who are the heads of those agencies that carry arms. Check who the commanders, the local commanders of those arm-bearing agencies across the length of the land. You will see that they all fall on one side of that map. So all the guns are in the hands of these same people, and there is this influx and growing impunity, brazen impunity of launching attacks and moving steadily in one direction, towards the south from where they come in. And so we begin to take a closer look. Just yesterday or so, we saw something on the internet on the letterhead of the State Security Directorate of State Security, alleging that intelligence was available that IPOB, the terrorist organization, is now going to bomb Abuja. Who knows what foundations are being laid? If that DSS does not have intelligence about the invasion of the Kaduna International Airport, if that DSS does not have intelligence about the attack on the train heading to or from Abuja with Kaduna, I don't know whether it's going forth or back, but there has been an attack in which of such a magnitude. If that DSS does not have intelligence about the ongoing onslaught in southern Kaduna, and areas in Jos, Plateau State, but it now has intelligence about how IPOB will go to Bombo, Abuja, and Lagos. Let us take a closer look whether we are not on the highway to Afghanistan, in which things will be orchestrated and fingers pointed in predetermined directions, whereas those who are doing the thing that we can see are being left to roam there. Nobody is challenging them, nobody is arresting them. We are looking, we are seeing, and if anybody is stupid enough to think that people are just going to fold their arms until it comes to, its landing place, we just say, keep doing what we are doing. But the rest of those who will be at the receiving end, this is the time to stand up and be part of this conversation in a manner that can save you from catastrophe, from death, because it will come to your space eventually, no matter where you are, whether you are in Boni or you are in Badagry. It may be in Jos now, it may be in Southern Kaduna now, it may be just approaching Abuja just now, but it's going to come to the point where it moves to your space. They already have their advanced teams in all the places. We have a chance to get ahead of them by pulling down the instrument that brings them to our space. That constitution is the reason they come into your space, pretending to be Nigerians. And now, if we do not act quickly enough, they may even come to where they become indigent of your community. INEC will conduct the election in which any of them can be made your chairman and councillor. The traditional rulers will also still depend on the 5% that come from council. These people are taking over on a scale that can, be comparable when it comes to its landing with what we saw in Afghanistan. Do we want it to go there? If we don't want it to go there, NINAS has a complete package of answers that requires only your listening and doing the little you are asked to do. The alternative is to keep your ignorance and become the victim of an unavoidable calamity. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, Mr. Steve, is there something you want to say regarding the video we just watched now?
My brother, what can I say? What can I not say? It's loaded. It's exposing all that is hidden from the ordinary view of our people. As we were watching that video, I remembered what happened on August 15, 2021. When the president of Afghanistan ran out of his country into United Arab Emirates. That is gradually settling in on Nigerians. The president of Nigeria will soon run out of Nigeria, leaving Asharok in the hands of the Islamic State. It's coming. We are gradually drifting steadily there. While they are on one side distracting our people with PVC collection and the obedience and all the nonsense going with it, they are actively pursuing this agenda of totally taking down our entire country to the Islamic State. And our people are foolishly falling for it. These are early warning calls to wake people up that there is danger. There is an orchestrated plan to take over our entire landscape. They've done it to the people, to the Christian communities in places like Maiduguri, across the Ariwa belt, the Sharia belt, 12 Sharia states. They've systematically eliminated all the Christians and chased those that they couldn't kill into IDP camps, where the Nigerian military and Air Force has bombed them. The same people they injected into the army as repentant terrorists are the ones doing the destruction. Steadily, they are not looking back. So our people should take this warning seriously, that the Islamic agenda is not looking back. And they are getting support from Saudi Arabia and from other places. In fact, right now, their number one support is coming out of the Nigerian presidency. Let's not deceive ourselves. Let's not delude ourselves. And the government of Nigeria gave these terrorist groups $1 billion naira, which worked out to be 300 million naira way back then. That was like 3-4 years ago. Let's get serious. Our people need to wake up from our slumber. The election is a charade. They already decided the outcome. They are just trying to keep our people busy while they do the actual things. The injection of terrorists into the police, into the military, is to actually put the carpet under the foot of Nigerians. While you think you're standing on nothing. Just like Nigeria is standing on a fraudulent constitution that has no positive impact on our people, the entire structure of Nigeria is actually tied to nothing. And so Nigeria is floating in the air. We cannot survive. The country, Nigeria, must go down for indigenous nationalities to emerge. Let me disappoint those who are hoping on Nigeria that they will change Nigeria. Nigeria is gone. There is no redemption for Nigeria. The best that can happen to Nigerians is to actually go back and recover their stolen sovereignty. It is through this sovereignty we can protect the people of Lower Niger territory, the people of Oduduwa Nation, and the Middle Belt that has been coming under intense slaughter. The plan of these people is to overpower our people using the instrument of state that's supposed to be protecting them. And so you can see the undermining of Nigerians is by the government of Nigeria using the military and other instruments of state to make sure that the people are fully defeated and completely conquered. That's the jihadi, that's the caliphate agenda, to conquer our people, to bring our people down, because it will work out according to the designs and desires of Ahmadu Bello and the rest of them, including current government led by Major General Muhammadu Buhari and Issa Pantami and the rest of the caliphate agents who are doing nothing but to destroy Nigeria right before our eyes. Nigeria is being destroyed. Nigeria has been systematically decimated. And so we cannot be holding on straws like we are holding on something. There is nothing. Nigeria is a criminal, a fraudulent enterprise that is actually, this government that's supposed to work for the protection of the country is steadily exposing the people to danger.
A crime scene.
Yeah, Nigeria is a crime scene, and it's happening on daily basis. And our people are busy chasing rodents while their houses are on fire. I hope common sense gets restored into our people so that we can actually appreciate how dangerous the situation is. That those people that are invading prisons, those people that are invading train line, train tracks, or train stations or airports, that they are spread across the country now. So we should cry out with whatever energy that is left in us to demand for a multi-regional referendum. There lies the salvation of our people. We will begin to have a fresh start from the outcome of that referendum. Anything else is a waste of time, and Nigeria is not for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Steve. And if we take a proper look at the shape they've drawn, they've been able to invade the NDA, the Nigeria Defense Academy. They've invaded Aso Rock as well. Now they've invaded the prison. That's to tell you they've mapped out all their structure and they are still working on it until, I don't know why most Nigerians will wait until the thing get to their doorstep before they realize that it's existing. The people learn from mistakes. People learn from other people's mistakes. And when you see them, you catch up and you spring up. You don't wait for it to happen to you before you learn. We'll be giving our speaker another opportunity to talk today as we continue to speak on this particular topic, because we are not going back. We are not relenting. We have come here to either you listen or you die. But we will not let you people die. We will keep speaking, because we are speaking life, hope, and future permanent freedom for our people. So we want to give our speaker another opportunity to speak as we wrap up today's episode, and we'll come back to Dr. Augusta to actually also give us a roundup of his own speech as we invited Dr. Onyobichi to give us his random speech for today's episode.
Doctor, 1 second. I wanted to make a quick correction to what we said earlier. The Middle Belt, their declaration was actually done in Makurdi, not Maiduguri. Middle Belt. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that correction. A slip of tongue. Thank you, listeners. As they say, that knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. That is why we are disseminating knowledge today. The question is, how many times will these people con us? How many times will they deceive us before we learn? In 2019, what was pushed to Nigerians was that was time for the youths to rule. I don't know what they nickname it, but the likes of
never too young to rule,
Yeah,
something
exactly.
like
Yeah.
So our people were jubilating. The owner of Sahara Reporters, I've forgotten his name, is Shawole. The likes of Dro Jale, the likes of Morgan, all of them came out. We warned them. This election has been predetermined. No one listened. Then after the election, it was Igbo presidency. Some Igbo so-called leaders, people that should understand, you speak to them earnestly that this is not going to take us anywhere under this constitution. Some of them will almost spit at you. That you're trying to block their chance, that this is the way we do it. Of recent is a meeting because we invited them, all those contesting for under different political platform, to come and address our people. We specifically asked them a question. Sir, what is going to happen if you do not get this Igbo presidency slot? They kind of shifted the question or the answer. Oh, that we get in there, we will plan on how to work from inside. What will happen if you don't get in there? None of them clinched the presidency slot. Now our people have been, brainwashed with the so-called, obedience. That is an answer. We are telling you that is what is going to cause a lot of lives, because we are giving these people, by rolling us to that next election, we are giving them the time they need to complete their conquest and Islamize Nigeria. How many times shall we allow these people to deceive us? Make no mistake about it. So we tell you, this will not happen. That the West are there, they are Christians. What is going on now? Are there not the Western, countries that are propping this regime up, knowing fully well the agenda, all the atrocities have been committed against the Christians? Why should our people be deceived so many times? So please, I'm begging you again, drop all you have been thinking about, how easy this is going to be, how we will all use PVC to chase these people out. It ain't gonna happen, like Americans will say it.
It ain't gonna happen.
So what is gonna happen is that we give them time. They might even accelerate what they are doing, handing over to their so-called brothers, like they did in Afghanistan before the election. They can allow the election to happen and then rig it and then announce whoever they want. And there's nothing you can do about it. Or they can even allow the so-called popular choice to emerge. They will use military coup to stop the person. They stopped Abiola, they killed Abiola. Heaven did not fall. Why can't our people think? Let's do the first thing first. Let's refine the system. Let's go through referendum. Let's have a transition. Let's ask our people, as is done in cream of countries, do we want Nigeria or don't we want Nigeria?
Yeah.
And then if we don't want Nigeria, we pursue self-determination. If we want Nigeria, we can now sit down and bring forth people-oriented constitution that will protect lives and make our people prosperous. So now is the time. Let's act while the sun shines. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Emeka Onyebuchi, for anchoring today's program with us. It has been a wide range of discussion and knowledge that you have imparted on our viewers today. And I believe none of the viewers that will be coming across this video that are actually watching now that will say they will not take out of all what we've discussed today. If they don't, well, it's left for them not to use their brain to calculate or use their tongue to count their teeth in their mouth. So the best we are doing now, we are pushing it out and let those, like I literally say, I said a child that doesn't have parents, if he saw a child that had father, if they are giving that child advice, that one that doesn't have father will quickly go and sneakily put his ear to probably grab something from that child's father because he doesn't have a father that will kindly give him that same advice the other child is getting. So we are out here giving vital information. Dr. Augusta, please, is there one or two words you want to say to our viewers before we call it a day?
Yes, first of all, I just want to thank Dr. Onyebuchi for, coming today. And as time goes on, we'll feature more people so that, the messages will be out there for a lot of people to grasp. And also to thank our viewers for showing today, because we cannot stop at this stage. No, we cannot. We cannot allow this thing to continue as well. So we're asking our people to heed to advice, because what we are saying, we are not saying it to bring down those that are contesting for election. No, we are saying it to save you all, to save us all, those of us that call ourselves Nigerians. We are trying to save Nigerians from Nigeria, from the country, from the amalgamation of the British. We are trying to save you from what you call your place, because it has already been overtaken by events. Now, people were talking about Afghanistan. Let me tell you, Nigeria will be worse than Afghanistan when time comes. Afghanistan is going to be like a child's play. Because guess what? In the kind of Afghanistan, there's a form of homogeneity with Afghanistan, right? Probably they speak the same language, the same dressing, the same religion, and all what's not. Nigeria is multi-ethnic. It is multi-ethnic. Different nationalities caged in that one contraption. So why we are saying this is because if it gets to the level where Afghanistan has gotten to now, it's not going to be easy. Sure. It's not. So this energy that we have, we want us to do the first thing first. What we are saying is that do that referendum first, then elections can come later. Because if we do it that way, we will be secured. We won't have to think of who is going to kill us for being who we are. We won't have to think of Nigeria, that is supposedly a secular country, is being overrun by jihadists. And if you are still thinking that it's not going to happen for where, it has already happened. It is systematic. These people are smart. We used to think that because they are non-educated, no, these people are smart. It is systematic. And they are moving with all the blueprint, the step-by-step blueprint that they have. So it's time our people wake up, y'all, and let's get this thing out once and for all. Thank you, our listeners, for listening. See you next week.
Thank you so much, Dr. Augusta. Mr. Steve, do you have one or two you want to say, or we'll leave it for next week?
My brother, I want to remind our people on the voice and the message of late Dr. Obadiah Lafia. That man gave us a lifelong sermon before they killed him. Obadiah Lafia told us what is happening, that a sitting governor in Nigeria, in the Arewa belt, is a commander of Boko Haram. Just like the president, the current president, Major General Muhammad Buhari, is or was appointed chief representative to Boko Haram, a terrorist group. And he turned out to be president of Nigeria. And look where we are today. So I remind our listeners and our people in the middle belt, in the Lower Niger territory, in Oduduwa Nation, within the country and in diaspora, I speak to all of you. I said, remember the voice of Obadiah Lafia. He did not die in vain, and he would not die in vain if we can actually digest his message, and that of Ninas, which is calling our people to wake up from our slumber and ask the right questions and make the right demands. We'll be back on Wednesday, and we will see you, and we hope that these changes, that this call up will begin to wake some minds up to ask the right questions. God bless you.
Thank you so much, our speakers for today. And I'll be dropping this last one. Nigerians, wake up from your slumber and your daydreaming. It is the handwork of those pronouncing you to go and have your PVC that are cooking up this whole stuff. Enough is enough. Let's walk towards the road of freedom, our people. Let's call it a quit. It's time for us to live a better life and a unique life, because my brother, I go tell you now out there, even though you spend 200 years on this earth, it's not even enough for you to enjoy what this earth has to offer. So the road to our permanent freedom that we seek is in the hands of the Nigeria Indigenous Nationality Alliance for Self-Determination, NINAS. So we are calling on every Nigerian, if you are watching this clip, please kindly follow us on our website. There are a lot of information there that you can be able to run into and equip yourself so that you will not be a throwaway like it is now, that people are lacking information and they are moving with the train that is going to crash, that has left the train track, like we said last week. So please don't be among those that are following the train that has lost track. Come on track, come on board. And the only on board now to the successful freedom that is going to be permanent forever is through the Nigeria Indigenous Nationality Alliance for Self-Determination. You can visit www.ninasvoice.org. There is a lot of information in there for you to go through. Thank you so much, our guest speaker, Dr. Emeka Onyebuchi. Thank you so much, Dr. Augusta. Thank you so much, Mr. Steve. God bless you all. And viewers, we'll see you again on Wednesday, same time. Please, if you are coming across this video, drop your comment and subscribe to all our our social media platform. And don't forget also to turn on your notification button, because there is a lot for us to be giving, educating, and equipped you people with in every time we come live here. So before we go, I will be playing a short clip to call it a day from the Lower Niger Congress that was held years ago, because they've already disseminated from this so-called union called Nigeria. So we'll be using that clip to end today's broadcast. And thank you, viewers, as you stay tuned. God bless you, and stay tuned as you watch this clip. And I'll say bye for now, viewers.
Map of the Lower Niger Territory as the geographical basis of their proposed federation, and went ahead upon presentations made by the Lower Niger Congress, unanimously mandated a 5-point action plan leading the referendum.
We propose that this assembly adopts this map as the map of the territory we're talking about. Not Imo, not Abia, not Bayelsa, not Rivers. Lower Niger. If we adopt this map, of course we are going to put it to voice vote. If we adopt this map as the basis of our union, because Nigeria's union was not discussed, was not to be discussed. You saw on the floor of the National Conference the first decision they took with the renegade wing of the Southwest and conservative northern partners leading. They formed a majority and they said that we can no longer discuss the terms of our union. Was that not the first decision the National Conference took? The convener of the conference, President Goodluck Jonathan, was very clear in why he was calling the conference, because we made it clear to him that that constitution that enslaves us cannot be the basis of running the Nigerian Union any further. We made it clear to him that if they carried on in the business, even if he were to win, we will not accept the 1999 Constitution as the basis of further business. And he called that conference. In his words, go to your archives, the 17th October of 2013, when he was inaugurating the Femi Okuromu Committee, he said that the conference was called to realistically examine and genuinely resolve the long-standing impediments to our cohesion as a united people. These were his words. That conference decided that he had gone beyond his brief and therefore nullified and then formed 20 committees to share money. Meaning that our compatriots in quote, because I do not feel like compatriots with them, had decided that our enslavement must be permanent. That will be the first proposal to adopt. Rapporteurs, take note, resolution number 1 carried. This assembly is being invited to mandate the production of a charter so that the matter will go beyond oral discussion. That a charter that will bind the Jaw, the Urobo, the Shekiri, the Anang, the Epic, all of these language groups, everybody standing on his land, including Little Isoko, Little Shekiri, Little Ogoni. That claim we make against Nigeria today will not be denied Ogoni, will not be denied Isoko, will not be denied Shekiri on account of their size. They will be equal partners in the prospective federation of the Lower Niger. Will this assembly then mandate the production of a charter that will spell out all of this so that everybody will be on the table at the time it was being put together, at the time it is being put together? Did I hear yes or no? Proposal number 2 adopted. Number 3, these are all of your programs. Mandate for referendum. Lower Niger Congress proposes that this solemn assembly mandates the conduct of a referendum among the peoples of the Lower Niger the same way Scotland decided recently to be or not to be in the kingdom they call the United Kingdom. We are proposing that we go by whatever mechanism to ask our people in a yes or no formation whether we want to continue in this union of attrition called Nigeria. No. Therefore, the assembly is saying that we will have to conduct a referendum to decide. Did I hear a yes? Number 3 carried. The D is one in which we look back at what Oba of Lagos said about the property of our people, because that's the one big blackmail Nigeria has had. Oh, the Igbo and their neighbors, the Lower Niger and their assets that are outside the eastern Nigeria. Because in 1970, by decree, they took these assets and they never returned it to date. We are now hearing similar threats as preceded the other one, where first-class traditional rulers in these 2 blocks, speaking on behalf of their people, because Lamida Demawa is in the same status as the Emir in Kano of the Sultan in Sokoto, the one that says his kingdom transcends Nigeria. He says that those who want resource control can go and drink their oil, but at the north will take their land and all of what whoever else may have built on it, starting with Abuja. And therefore, Lower Niger Congress proposes, and it's not a new proposal. We have made that proposal since 2012. Ebuwedike, you are here. Uncle Fred, you are here. Did we not fly to Abuja to talk to our people in 2012 that this day will come when our neighbors and compatriots will gang up again to try to take our assets and kill our people in order to retain it permanently? What is the proposal? The proposal is that an asset protection and guarantee scheme be put in place in which an inventory is taken immediately of all the assets of the people of Lower Niger that are situated outside the territory. So that if anybody decides to take those assets, the owners will not have to sacrifice their life trying to protect them. An offshore-based insurance scheme which has been discussed, ready to be concluded if people can document what they have and register with the appropriate authority that will be set up of the Lower Niger, that it is a scheme, almost a commercial scheme, in which you are in Kano, you have a house that can be sold for 30 million naira today. The people of Kano are planning who will take over your assets when they begin to kill people. You quietly go take your title document, go do valuation of it, get 2 witnesses who come from this area and who live in Kano and who are prepared to sign the paper to say, if yes, that Mr. Okeke or Mr. owns this property, and that if the property is sold today, it might fetch 30 million. When you've done that, the cost of insurance, we've had to travel far and wide, including the United States, to get the best bargains. The cost of insurance will be about 5 to 6%. Those who are the owners will have to contribute only 1% of the value of what they declare. And even before that contribution, let the documentation be done. The authority in the new territory will give you back whatever anybody decides to take away from you. And therefore, we will not go back to what we suffered in 1970, no matter what the rest of Nigeria does. Therefore, we propose that that asset protection and guarantee scheme be put in place. Does the House approve of it? Number 4 carried. The number 5 mandate sought before this solemn assembly is one in which we have to accept that though being leaders of thought, we are not all encompassing in our wisdom. And therefore our people in the towns and villages of the Lower Niger should be consulted. And how do you consult Abakaliki people or Warri people? Town hall meetings, local radio, social media. The documents in your hand as you live here can be basis of town halls. The website you see here has all of the documents that you will need to show what you're talking about. You just challenge young people with their phone and all of that to say, if we run quickly with this mandate, if this House will approve of it, that as we live here, those town hall meetings should take place. These flyers should be multiplied. If you have one set of flyers, you can make 1,000 copies of it. You can make 5,000 copies of it. Make sure there is no household in the entire Lower Niger that does not have what you have now. There are more that will come, so that everybody will get to know. Those who have access to the internet will get to go. Those who have access to radio will announce to other people. So that in a matter of weeks, we should be able to ask our people whether they agree with us or not in a referendum. And therefore we say, let this honorable audience accept the mandate, accept to mandate the setup of to set up consultations by way of town halls, both at home and abroad. The international community, there are many foreign media houses here present. What we are saying here is being viewed live in Washington and London. Nigeria came to a small halt yesterday when that happened. How many of you saw the advertorial in Garden yesterday? Please, copies are available here. Immediately that Vanguard came, and that Guardian came, people who went to church and who had fixed meetings for 3-4 p.m. could not resume their planning because they realized that the end had come. Yes. We tried our best to get them from going into elections so that we can resolve this matter. They told us to our faces that we did not matter and that our blood will flow on the streets. The candidates in that election, the one they say have won, they did not tell us that the blood of the baboon will mix with that of the dog on the street if it was not coronated. Whose blood was he talking about? As a lieutenant, you saw where they were shouting about genocide and all kinds of what is it they say they want to go to do in ICC. They threatened parallel government, all kinds of things. And they said they will take Jonathan and the wife before the ICC because of election violence. Lieutenant Buhari was one of those who went about supervising the killing of innocent citizens in 1966 in a xenophobic operation against the people of the Lower Niger. That was just 1966. Did anybody see on CNN the genocide of Armenia? Still running, still topical. Did anybody see recently the latest Nazi war criminal, people who did exactly the same thing in 1937, 38, 39, who has it been haunted? What is it about Nigeria? What is it about our blood that 1967 or 1966 or 1970 have become so remote that Washington and London that proclaim democracy and human rights do not want to recognize that if you allow impunity to stand, it will grow. Muhammad Buhari has not been brought to justice himself and his confederates in that mass killing of a people for where they come from. Therefore, we say we will be the town hall meetings should include consultations in the international arena to explain to everybody how we came to this decision. Is that decision carried to go to the town halls at home and abroad? Decision number 5 carried. Mandate number 5, to set up an all-purpose committee from this gathering that will continue consultations with people who did not get here amongst our people. Is that decision carried? Finally, this August assembly, solemn as it were, Lower Niger Congress proposes that this assembly sends a message from this city to all of our people, those from any of these states, as Nigeria called them, from this territory, who may have been elected to go to Abuja as representative, who may be appointed as minister, who may be called upon to come to serve in any capacity in Abuja. This August body is being requested by Lower Niger Congress to mandate a return home for consultation before the business of governance in Abuja will continue. Those who are so affected, we are not telling them any particular thing other than to come home and consult before they proceed. Those of them who will refuse to come, of course, should know upfront that they're in Abuja entirely on their own accord. That decision
Tony Nnadi addressed the press on the overall aim of the solemn assembly.
The map of Lower Niger, as can be found on their website, lowernigercongress.org, of 1885, showing how the peoples of the Lower Niger, the ethnic nationalities of the 11 states, to which Nigeria has fractured them, that map to be adopted as the geography of the territory we are discussing. The Ijaw, the Shekiri, the Urobo, the Igbo, all of the ethnics in those 11 states, have adopted that map of 1885 as the formations in which they will relate henceforth. The second decision is that they have mandated a referendum. The solemn assembly has mandated a referendum of the people, in which people, just like the Scottish referendum that happened recently, will be deciding whether they want to continue in this union of attrition that Nigeria has proved to be. There's also the mandate for wider consultations with the people ahead of that referendum by way of town halls and consultation with international stakeholders. The Assembly also decided that an asset protection and guarantee scheme be put in place immediately to take an inventory of the assets of the peoples of Lower Niger situated outside the Lower Niger, so as to avoid the experiences of 1970, in which they fled for their lives at the time genocide was being levied against them from other parts of the country. And in 1970, 3 years after they were dislocated from their places of abode, the government of Nigeria, by decree, seized their assets, called it abandoned properties, and never returned to them. And today we are seeing a repetition of the threat by the same people who seized those assets, against them. Finally, the Assembly also decided that a standing committee, an all-purpose standing committee, be put in place to discuss with those who might not have come here on a continuing basis, both local and international. I think we also decided that people from the Lower Niger who, for some, either by appointment or election, will be required to come to form government or do government business in Abuja on behalf of the peoples of Lower Niger from any part. The Assembly mandated a recall for consultation. They must come home and discuss with the rest of the people, otherwise they will be there entirely on their own. It doesn't matter that some people are rejoicing that the elections have been held and winners emerging, whether by appointment or by election. If you are of the Lower Niger and you are in Abuja to be part of the governance of that territory with the rest of Nigeria, we are requesting that you come home for consultation before you continue in that transaction.
Banners and placards by the ethnic delegations